Hello and welcome to Star Trek Frontiers. Okay, so after we just finished playing Mage Knight, we're going to go ahead and jump right into Mage Knight in space. What's funny is we played Mage Knight so many times. I know I only recorded one of my games, but I've played it so many times this past week that the symbology in this game, which I was very comfortable with in the past, is confusing me. So I'm ready to go, and as usual with every video, thanks for joining me at the table. This first video will be setup only, and then we can get into the playthrough later. There's a very high temptation to talk about this as if you've seen my Mage Knight videos, and I know that that's a very risky way to do a video, so I'm going to try not to do that, but it's really hard, so my apologies in advance. But when you set up the game, I do have the Return of Khan expansion, and we are actually going to do a the Return of Khan epic mission, Solitaire. So I'm very excited about this. I've never played the Khan expansion. I have played the base game quite a few times. It is a little confusing, the Khan rules, but we're going to give it a go. Okay. So, a lot of this should look familiar. If you watched the Mage Knight video, this looks very familiar, right? That should look familiar. The key difference being that there's no nighttime, there's only space. And just like before, these are the movement costs for terrain. And one thing I want to point out is that, see there's a little X versus a big X. The little X means that you can't end your turn on any of those spaces with planets or suns, but you can move through them. Whereas the big X is you can't move through them at all. So those are like, you can't enter those spaces ever. And that'll make more sense when we get into the how to play part of the game. You're going to have characters. And those characters are going to have a deck of 16 cards with a little symbol in the top right that goes with their character. This one is for the USS Enterprise D. So your actual... So in the past you were a Mage Knight, right? In this game, you are a starship. So we are the Enterprise D. And for those of you who are Star Trek fans, you probably already know who that belongs to. But in case you didn't, it is Jean-Luc Picard. This is actually my favorite deck, and thematically this is my favorite guy to play. So it's all the more reason why I love this game. He's a very diplomatic guy, which to me is very thematic, and I really love playing this game diplomatically. This is one of the things I really love. I absolutely love this character, and I would choose it every time, but this is the USS Enterprise D. Now, what are other choices? I didn't bother taking them all out of the bag, but I sorted them so you could see through the bag. The next one is the Uss Defiant, which is this yellow player, and this comes with the base game, and that is Cisco. Cisco is a decent character. He's very attack heavy. So out of all the Federation players, this one is probably the most attack heavy. And then of course, he has, even his card is all about attack. Whereas the Picard's card, I can't remember what it does, but it's more diplomatic. Okay, the next one we have, to round off the, you might recognize that face, and we have Captain Kirk. Now this comes with the Khan expansion, so you won't get this one with the base game, and it's the Enterprise A. He comes with quite a mix. He's a mix of diplomacy and attack. He's very well balanced, let's just put it that way. I mean, that's Kirk. He was impulsive, and he was a lover and a fighter. He was both. So anyways, this is actually a fun deck to play. No, I know I said I never played the Khan's expansion. I've played his character, I just never played the expansion scenarios. So let me qualify that. Next one is the IKS Negvar. And so that's the purple character here, and this comes with the base game, and it is Martok. So it's a Klingon. And as you may guess, this one's very attack heavy, and it's also very similar to the Blood Mage from Mage Knight. This one has a lot of things that you can do with wounds. so you can manipulate wounds, you can take wounds to do more damage, stuff like that. And then we have the Bird of Prey. So we have the Romulans, and we have Lursa and Bator. Believe it or not, these ones are like Goldix, the dragon from Mage Knight, and these ones are very crystal heavy, so very very magic-like, if you want to look at it that way, from the old Mage Knight game. And again, my apologies if you've never played the Mage Knight. I am going to make those comparisons all the time, just ignore me. So anyways, that's that. Obviously, we only get to pick one. So I picked Picard because I wanted to go with comfort. I think all of them are great. There's not a single one I hate. It's just that I like this one a lot. Since there's no day-night, you have only one set of tactic cards. We'll go over those. Just set those aside. The data crystals get set aside. They gave us these little tokens that show what round number it is. So if you're playing a 6-round game, you don't have to forget which round it is. Since there's not day and night cycles, it actually becomes a little bit easier to forget which round it is. So very good idea. All of the creatures that were in Mage Knight and all the keeps and all that stuff is now replaced with Romulan ships, planets. We even have Borg cubes, the whole 9 yards. And there's space stations. And you'll notice that a lot of them are colored. Like these yellow ones are a lot like the ruins and the labyrinths and the dungeons. These purple ones are going to be a lot like the mage towers. These are going to be a lot like the keep. And then these are like the white tokens from the other one. And then you got these planets that are going to behave just like any other planet. The one thing that's interesting, though, is sometimes they can be in distress. So you see planets that have the green around them, and then some of them... Oh, I know. The distress is actually going to be on the tile. My apologies. They'll be actually on the tile. So we'll deal with that there. These are the mana dice from the other game, but obviously they're called data crystal dice here. One thing to note, in the daytime in Mage Knight, gold was wild, but in this game, gold is just gold. It's just, one of the crystals you can get. White, of course, is one, and blue is one, and so is red. The big wild cards on this one are purple. So purple can be used specifically for purple power-ups. And let me just reach across the camera here. And you can see that these were the spell cards in Mage Knight, but now they're called discoveries or something like that, undiscovered locations. And what you can see is that you need to pay a gold to use this particular ability, and here you need a gold plus a dark, a planet card, or one of these special planets, right? Or over here you can see you need a purple, and that's where I'm sorry, that's a red. Okay, so the two special ones. Back to this. This is what I meant. Is the one that you use for these discovery cards. I thought it was the purple one. The purple one is what you can do is you pick it up and you roll the die and you get whatever you get, right? So basically it's a chance to get anything else. I thought there were actually specific places or cards that used purple. I could be wrong in that, but anyways, so these are just like the spell cards, and I know, again, my apologies if you've never played Mage Knight. And then what you do is you just simply put 1, 2, 3 cards, like so, and then set the deck off to the side. It's a little out of my reach, but it was doable. And then these are the action deck, and just like before, the action deck will... it looks like they all have these plus signs on the top right, which was a nice little touch, because it was actually a little harder to figure out which ones were the action cards. I don't think it was super hard to figure it out in the past, but they just made it even easier. So you're going to put that here, and then we're going to do a similar thing of 1, 2, and 3 across there. Okay, so the amount of dice that we use is 2 plus the number of players. So we're going to use 3 total dice. The rest go back in the box. I'll just put them here for now. Let me think. Did I cover everything here? Yes, I did. The player itself, you put your ship, which is what you are basically in this game. It goes here. You ignore the 2 symbols on the bottom. We're going to get to those because we're playing solitaire. We're going to have a dummy player, and the dummy player uses these symbols. This is just telling you, which tokens are yours. You're going to have a whole bunch of these tokens. Just set them aside. You'll use them to mark areas that you conquer or take over or whatever. You shuffle your deck. You put it here. You take these tokens, and there's going to be one that's blank. So that represents the number of allies you can hire, henchmen, minions, whatever word you want to use. So you can have 1 in the game. I have a spot for 1, and this is called a command token. So I can command 1 right now. And then for levels 1 and 2, and you're going to just sort these. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For levels 1 and 2, I'm going to have 2 armor and 5 hand limit. So I can draw 5 cards, basically, when it's my turn. And then as I level up, you can see the armor goes up, and then eventually the hand size goes up. And then also as you level up, the command token here will flip over, and now I can control 2 guys. So that gets to happen when I reach level 3. Okay? So again, if you've played Mage Knight, a lot of this is going to look extremely familiar. All right, so moving on, there's going to be a tile here that has this little, what is that, a warp thing, wormhole, and that's where we're going to start. Okay, and so it's going to have asteroids around, which of course you can't move through. And then you're going to have what they call frontier tiles, and you're going to sort these, and then we're going to draw based on the scenario size. And I have it all pre-drawn already, but we'll go into that when we start setting up the scenario. You're also going to have what's called Quartiles, which are these, and I have 2 of those. There's actually 2 types of Quartiles. I don't want to show it to you because I've already set up the game, but this Quartile is a regular core, and then there's one that has these Borgs on it. So there's 4 Borg cubes. There's 4 colors, green, red, yellow, and blue. And there are this Quartile on the bottom is one of those 4 Borg cubes. So it's either and you can see them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they each have their own special abilities. So the reason why I don't want to reveal it is if you know it's the red one, you could prep for it differently than if it was the green one. And so part of the challenge is the surprise of not knowing which one it actually is going to be, and it makes the game interesting. And so yes, we'll get into the scenario setup in a second, but I do have all that pre-set up. And just understand that you need to separate these into their own pile, the non-cube ones into its own pile, and then there's going to be 4 cube ones that are going to go into their own pile. Now there's another special one, which looks like this. This is the con tile. Con's actually going to start on that space. And for this particular scenario, we're going to play with him in it. And so he's going to start special. So you got to set that aside. We are going to have this, which is a player marker. This is just used for turn order. And I'm going to just set that over here. And then Con is also going to have a turn order marker. So we're going to put that there. And then we have to make a dummy player. So why don't we make we'll make the Romulans. Excuse me, the Romulans the dummy player. So, well, actually, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so what am I doing off camera here? So with the dummy player doesn't actually play the game. It's just basically like a timer. So the ship goes back in the bag, and then all of its little tokens are going to go back in the bag because you don't need any of these. But when you're playing solitaire, and when I played Mage Knight, I did a co-op game, and I told you there was some differences between solitaire. One of the key differences, and you don't need these tokens either, one of the key differences is that you need their skills. So these skill tokens need to all come out, and then you got to just have them shuffled. I'm trying not to even pay attention to them at the moment, and get them in place like so. And it's very unfortunate because these two here, you can see, I don't know if you can see it really well, but the shade of purple is extremely noticeable. And I'm wondering if I put the wrong ones in here. I might have done that. So let me check that real quick. But the thing I'm really looking for is this. And I don't think I have the wrong ones in here because look, the ship is shaped the same. So it's a big manufacturing error. You're supposed to shuffle these, and if I have a really dark purple, I know I'm going to get one of the Wrath of Khan expansion ones because they gave you some extra skills to the Wrath of Khan. So yeah, this guy is going to have some expansion ones. All right. So what you need is this, which is for the turn order, and then you need all of these shuffled. Okay, that's what you need. And then you also need the deck of cards. And by the way, the actual captain of the ship is one of the cards. So we're going to take all the cards. I do need this because that's going to explain to me what all the skills do. And you also need this here. And we'll set all that up in a second. Everything else can stay in the bag. All right, so after explaining all that, let me turn the camera around, and you can see we're going to have 3 players basically in this game. And then this is the dummy player, this is Khan and his Pequod, and then this is our ship, okay? These are our skills sorted and shuffled. This is the dummy player's skills sorted and shuffled. This is the dummy player's skill list. Over here are my skill lists, and when the expansion came, they added 2 extra skills to all the base players, and of course we're blue, we're Picard, so I need all of these skills plus these 2, right, in order to describe everything that's in my stack there. I'm going to make some room here. So these are scorecards. You don't need them until the end of the game, so you can set them aside. You're going to have a whole bunch of cards that look like this. These are all critically important because they explain to you what every location tile does. And unlike the last game, they're not double-sided. So that means that there's a lot more to sift through, but I'm very grateful because the double-sided sort of drove me a little bit nuts. So we have like some cards like Pequod's level, and then Khan's fleet and how it moves around. So we're going to just set all those aside over here by the board cubes. Khan himself has his own little miniature and a giant disc that he attacks you in space, and you board his ship, and he's happy and he's angry. I do like that. So what I'm doing is making room for the dummy player. So the dummy player is going to sit here, and then let me give his deck just a brief shuffle here. And we're going to put the deck there. So what we're going to do is, on his turn, we're going to draw 3 cards. And the dummy player starts with a gold and a red. And I'll show you that in a second. We come over here, we take a gold and a red. We put that on his area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 3 cards from here. And the cards, I'm just going to grab something from the middle. This is a gold card, okay? And then you can see there's a red card, and then you can see a blue card. So they're going to have different colors on them. And so if I draw, for example, a gold, I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to see I have 1 gold data crystal. And so therefore, I'm going to draw 1 more gold for every gold crystal I have. If I had 2 gold crystals, I would draw 2 more cards. If I have 0 gold crystals, I'm not going to buy any. The whole point of the dummy player is that it's going to be used solely as a timer. So when his deck runs out, he's going to declare end of round. So his turn goes by in like 10-15 seconds, and he doesn't do anything to impact the game, nothing. He's just basically a timer. So so that part's good. Now the one other thing about the solitaire though is when you're playing a multiplayer game, when you level up, you're going to grab 2 of these and then you pick which one you're going to use, right? The other one then goes into what's called like a common offer, and so you can learn that later if you wanted. Well, then another player, let's say he levels up, he gets to choose between 2, and this one goes in the common offer. Well, what ends up happening is let's say this other player levels up, he's allowed to take his skill from the common offer, but he's also allowed to take yours. So this is a publicly available area that everybody can take a skill. So what we're going to do is when we level up in a solitaire game, he puts one of his tokens, just one, in the common offer, and we can always choose his token instead of the 2 we just drew for ourselves. So that's always an option. We can take his stuff. And every time that we have to draw these, he always puts one in. Now, it is a little more complicated than that. How do you level up in this game? Well, we're going to take 2 of our tokens. The first token is going to start here on the 0, and the second token is going to go here on the reputation track. Okay? And if I get enough experience points that I advance from one row to the next, I level up and I get whatever this bonus is. And this bonus is where I do that skill thing I just showed you. This here is level 3, and if you remember, I told you that when you get to level 3, this flips over. It's either one or the other. We're either getting those skills or we're doing this. We're never doing both at the same time. Okay? Before I get into the scenario setup, what are some of the major differences from Mage Knight? Again, apologies for those who weren't interested in talking about Mage Knight so much. The biggest major difference is that this is not called fame, well, that's reputation, and so it's not as confusing. This is literally called experience points now. So that part's good. It's still victory points as far as winning goes. Like I said, there's no day and night. If you recall in combat, there was a siege phase where there was siege plus range. And then if the unit was fortified, which 90% of the time it was, the ranged attack couldn't be used in the siege phase, and it was super confusing. Well, in this game, there's just called long-range combat, and that's it. There is no siege versus range. There is no such thing as fortification. So a lot simpler. And also, you can partially block damage, and then next, you can just add up all your attack and block everybody all at once. You no longer have to have individual cards of block for each attack by each character or every enemy. Now, if one enemy attacks you twice, you do have to have a separate block card for the second attack. But you could take the first attack and bundle it in with everything else. And I know for those of you who've never played any of these, that doesn't make any sense, and we'll get into that a lot more as the game goes on. Okay, so for the setup, we are doing the Return of Khan Epic. So we're going to just choose the Daring Combat level, which is the Wimpy mode, and the Race level of Fair. Now, what's the difference between the two? The combat level, I think, should be self-explanatory. It's going to be like, so the Borg Cube levels are going to be, the higher the level, the harder it is to defeat them. So we're going to do a Borg Cube level of 4, which matches up with Mage Knight's Conquest. Okay? And then if you had more players, so we're going to do the solo column. Now, Khan's level is going to be 5, which is a lot easier than 8, etc. Khan, let me just warn you, is the most epic battle I've ever seen. It's way more than Kovac or whatever his name was, Torvak, or well, I don't even remember his name, Volkar from Mage Knight. But we're going to do just the easy level to grease our skids and just ease into this. Now the race level here is how fast is he going to advance, because what we're doing, let me show you here on the right. We're going to start here, and then Khan is going to start right next to us, and we're both racing to find the Borg cube, which is somewhere out in space. And once we find the Borg cube, if he finds it first, and he gets there first, he wins and we lose outright. So we have to find the Borg cube and destroy it before he gets there. Then after we destroy the Borg cube, he is trying to find some kind of data disk or something that's in the Borg cube. So if he goes to the destroyed Borg cube and he attacks it, and we do not defend the Borg cube, he basically gets 2 attacks on it. The first attack will destroy it, so we no longer get the benefits of the destroyed Borg. So when you destroy the Borg cube, you actually get some benefits from it. If he gets there and we don't defend the Borg cube, he'll actually destroy it. And then if he destroys it a second time, or attacks it a second time, we lose. And because he's trying to find this disc. Now he has these. He has his own deck of cards. It's a very thick deck. I don't think we're going to use all of them, but we might. Now in this big thick deck of cards are commands. Some of them are going to be for him to attack. Some of them are going to be for him to move. So the race level is how quickly is he going to find the Borg cube. Now he's going to be putting pet cards in the deck, 18 of them in fact, if you're going to do a low race level. There's only 12 pet cards in the deck if it's going to be a thrilling race level. So let me just tell you that pet cards are annoying, and I'm not sure it's going to be better to have a low race level, but what it means though is his deck's going to get clogged up with a lot of pet cards, and so therefore the move cards won't appear as frequently. So I guess that slows him down. The problem with the pet cards is he's going to steal all of our minions, because he uses those little worms to go into their ears and take control of them, and then they become loyal to him. So when you do the final battle with Khan, you're actually going to be fighting against all the minions that you could have hired for yourself. It's really crazy actually. And then the vulnerable crew members, this part will help us. There's only going to be 1 vulnerable crew member, whereas down here there would be 3. Now and so I keep saying minion, crew member is the right term. So let's talk about that real quick. There's 2 decks here that we haven't, oh, sorry, I dropped something on the floor. So there is what's called a regular crew member deck, and then this is a elite crew member deck, so silver and gold. The elite crew member deck is not used at the beginning of the game. You unlock that later, but what we do is we take the regular crew member deck, and these are guys that are available for hire. Now when I say hire, remember I have a command token, so that means I can hire 1 crew member, and if I hired this guy, he would be working for me, and then I would have his abilities, blah blah blah. So that's the idea. So I'm going to put him here. Now the way the Khan thing works is when he draws one of those pets, which is those little worm things, I don't remember what they're called. I'm not that much of a I don't know the Wrath of Khan movie that extremely well. I know I've seen it a couple times, but it's been a long time. So what you're going to do is you're going to have, let's say that there's 4 of them out here. You're going to have vulnerable crew members. And a vulnerable crew member means that his pet could lure them or get into their ear and take control of their mind. So then this guy would join Khan. And then when we do the final battle with Khan, he's actually going to be somebody we're going to have to defeat him, and that's really annoying. So what we're going to have is we're going to have 1 vulnerable crew member, and the way it works is you actually are going to put a crystal, data crystal on, and then we're going to roll a die. And I rolled, for example, a yellow. Since it doesn't match, the pet failed, right? So but if it did match, then the pet succeeds, and this guy is going to join them. Well, if there's 3 crew members, you're going to have to put out a different colored crystal, okay? So now the chances are higher that when I roll a die, like I rolled a red, that crew member is going to get taken. Now, obviously, I could have recruited that crew member And if this spot was blank like it is now, like if these two spots are blank and I rolled a red, then he gets nobody still. But that's part of the thing, is he's actually going to be luring away crew members to join his little army. So that's going to be an annoying thing for us. And yes, I probably should have played as Kirk just thematically, but we're going to leave it as is. And but that's how the vulnerable thing works. And this particular scenario, we're going to only ever have one vulnerable crew member. So I don't know where it gets placed, like where the data crystal gets placed, but I'm just letting you know there's only going to be one. And so the chances are good that even if he rolls a die, it's not going to get the vulnerable member, because you got to have a little bit of planets aligned. So we roll our dice, and you can see I got 2 white and a red, and those are going to start on our core thing over there. Now, if I would have gotten 2 of the special kind, like the purple or the black, and I have more than 50% of them that way, then you re-roll the purple and black until you have at least 50% regular dice. So anyways, enough of that. Let's keep going with the setup. So like I said, we're going to go with the wimpy levels on everything. Trust me, when you start to find out what the con battle is like, it is brutal. So I think wimpy is good enough for now. All right, so it's talking about the difficulty and like what the race level means, and you know, it's telling you that they're independent and you can choose any combination. Like I said, I went wimpy with everything. So for the solo, what it's trying to explain is normally with the asteroid setup, there should be 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. But instead, there's now a 4th column in this scenario. So we're going to create 4 columns of things, and it needs to be in this exact format. Okay, so we still get to reveal them in whatever order we reveal them, but I can't, for example, make another one out here. Okay, that's all it's trying to explain here, is that there's 4 columns. Okay, now it's framed here where it's solo is the first number, and then it's 2-player, 3-player, 4-player if you're, you know, playing a cooperative game or even a competitive game. Or actually, this one's cooperative. So you only use the leftmost number. So for the solo game, we're going to use 7 frontier tiles. That is the 7 blue tiles that you see right there. Then we're going to use core non-Borg tiles of 1, and that's this guy at the top. And then we're going to use core Borg cube tiles of 1, always at the bottom of the stack, and that's why he's down here. So the way the stack is going to work is you're going to put these 2 like this, and then the 7 on top like that. Okay? All right. And then the crew offer, it says, unlike most scenarios, the number of crew and the number of data dice in the core is equal to the number of players plus 3. That's actually better. So we get to add 1 more die. So we got a purple, but that's not over 50%, so it goes there. And remember what I said, so with the core, or with the crew offer, that's this, what is it normally? Well, it's 2 plus the number of players normally, so we would normally have 3. But now it's going to be 3 plus the number of players, so 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. And it's all going to be silver for now, but when the gold unlocks, and it unlocks when a core tile comes out, we will actually alternate between gold and silver, and the gold will always be the first. So it will be 2 gold, 2 silver in this situation. So here you can see we got Mirok, Federation officer, a red shirt. Another Federation officer, and Uhura. Blah, blah, blah. Boy, Uhura. Why am I having a hard time about that? But anyways, you know who I'm talking about. She was with Kirk. Okay, so that's the setup. Now it does say to remove. I know I have this upside down, but I have to remove these cards. Remove the following undiscovered cards from the undiscovered deck, and it's because these are competitive cards, and I forgot to do that. Dang it! So let me see what I can do here. All right, so it's none of the 3 that are out. Data virus is 1. So, you know, steal a data crystal from another player. Well, there is no other player. So that's why you got to take those kind of things out. Energy flow is 1. Telepathy is 1. I got 3 of them now. Inner light and nerve pinch are the only ones I need to find. Inner light. And where's nerve pinch? Found them. Okay, easy enough. So these are the cards that you're going to remove from the game. And like I said, they're all just PvP stuff. So you don't use those in a solo or cooperative game. And then what it does is there's pages of instructions on how this scenario goes. This is not an easy, straightforward scenario. It explains the skills. It explains that during tactic selection, we always choose first. And then it explains how some of the crew members are going to be vulnerable to his pets. So we need to take that many different data crystal colors, mark the first several slots with those crystals so that each of the slots has a color assigned to it. And when revealing crew members at the start of the round, the first crew members are always placed in the marked slots, leaving the rest unmarked. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make it gold, because gold's real easy to see on my board. The the blue blended in too much. So it's always going to be this first slot, and it's going to be gold, okay? All right, and then it's got a ton of things explaining how he moves and how he does other things. So we'll get into that later. Now let's talk about his deck. That's the last thing we need to do, and then we can actually start playing. So remember, the board said that we're going to have 18 pets. So he has all these cards in his deck. Then eventually you'll see the pet cards. These are pets, of course. So we need 18 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in my deck, 2 of them are out of the game. So there was only 2 extras, and that's fine. One other thing, there's these challenge cards. We're not going to play with those. What these are is they make the game harder with no benefit whatsoever. It's just for when you want more challenge. I am not there yet. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. So you take his deck, and then you take the 18 pet cards, and we need to shuffle all this together. So I'm going to do that real quick. And this will be his deck that he uses when it's his turn. And the deck actually just gives instructions. So it'll say, you know, he's going to do a move, or he's going to attack, or his pet is going to try to, you know, steal that crew member. And then he just does whatever his card says. Now, when he does a move, a lot of that scenario instruction is explaining how he moves. It's also explaining, you know, a few other things, which I'm going to get into real quick here. But I'm just still shuffling his deck. We definitely have to shuffle this one pretty good, because you don't want all the pets in one cluster. So I know that's an awful way to shuffle, but that's what I'm going to do. There's a lot of pet cards in this deck. I don't think there's going to be any way to avoid a whole bunch of these. Holy cow. Okay. There was an interesting thing where you could do like this draft and get some cards to that you automatically get when you level up. I really like that idea. It does make the game easier though. So I'll at least pass on that. Although I do think it makes it more fun. Okay. So we have his deck shuffled. And we're just going to set it right over here by the turn order stuff. And then when it's his turn, we'll reveal. And it's not like the dummy player. He's actually doing stuff. Okay? And then the last thing is we're going to situate this. And remember, we need 4 columns. And then the left one has to be con. And they said it was critically important that it's set up like this. So he has the sun here, and then he has to move right. That's what we're gonna do, okay? So we're gonna set this up. Now, normally, so the starting tile has a little asterisk here, and then just, you know, stars and whatnot. So what you're supposed to do is you need to line it up so that they're lining up perfect. So since the asterisks on the southernmost are closest to us, this one would also be closest to us. And lo and behold, it lines up exactly like the scenario says, where the sun is here, and then he's going to try to move that way. Now, he starts the game, and what do we say his level is? His level is 5. So he has different levels here, and I'm going to move this. You can see this is level 14 that he's on right now. And we're going to move him down. Oh, this is really hard to move. And that's level 8. It sometimes snags. 6. One more. There we go. 5. Okay, I don't know if that's easy for you to see, but you can see he has two green, 2 white, and looks like 1 planet. Let me... 2 green, 2 white. Well, here's the good news. They gave us a card. So at level 5, he's using a Borg sphere and 2 Dominion starships and 2 Romulan warlords. Okay, so, or warbirds. So now, if you don't know which one's which, you can use these, right? So that's a Romulan starbase. And it was a Romulan warbird, a Dominion starship. So you can go through, and there's a Romulan warbird. So it looks like that. This is a Borg sphere. So there's one of those, 2 of the warbirds, and it says a Dominion starship, and I know what that is, but it's going to look like that. Okay, so that's where these cards come in super handy. All right, so what does that all mean? Well, if we come over here, he has 2 of these. Okay, those are the Romulan warlords. These are the 2 Dominion starships. These ones are going to be easy. These ones are the really hard ones. And these ones aren't a pushover either. These are the Borg spheres. So he's going to have one of those. So what he does is his ship is here. Okay. And he's smiling at the moment because he's got a fleet. Okay. He has all these attack abilities. We roll a die and he applies one of them. In order to defeat him, we have to first conquer the Borg. So we have to explore all these tiles, get to the Borg city, and conquer it before he gets there. Okay, that's the first priority. But let's say we do that, and now we need to defeat him. You know what? I'm gonna go over that when we do the next video. So let's finish the setup, and we'll go from there. So what happens with him is these units that start with him go around him like this. And that's his fleet. So, you know what, I'll explain it now, and I'll probably have to explain it again later, but in order to defeat him, the first thing you have to do is defeat his entire fleet. And in the Mage Knight game, that was all you needed to do to win, right? Because then, you know, Volcar or whatever, Volcair, would be defeated. But that's not the case with this guy. So after you defeat his army, his ship is crippled. So then you flip him over, and then you have to beam aboard his ship. So you have to actually, you know, teleport onto his ship, and then do hand-to-hand combat with him. And it's not just him. It's also, you're going to draw some planets, which are, you know, these type of planets here. He's going to have a bunch of those that you need to conquer. And then on top of that, every one of these guys that he has on his side are going to fight for him. And so you have to basically free them from his pets. You know, get those worms out of his ears so they can, you know, come back and join you. So you have to subjugate basically his ship. So you have to defeat his fleet, and then you have to beam aboard his ship and then win all the battles on his ship. So you have to do all that, and then and only then is he defeated. Okay? So he's truly an epic battle. That's why I think they said this is an epic game. So this is not going to be a short game, of course. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this a little bit more like this, because I want to make sure I have enough room, and then the columns are going to go straight up like this. So we're going to move him slightly more like so. Okay, so we got column 1 here, and that's very important because you can see how the 4 columns are going to work. Sorry for the glare. Okay, and then see those 2 little white things? That means we're going to reveal 2 of the tiles from the start of the game. So let's do that. So tile number 1, and I'm going to get these off the board. Here's the first tile. And man, there's so much glare with this one. So right here is the symbol. So we're going to put it like so. There's column 2. This is column 1. That's column 2. And I may have to just do that. Okay. So this one here has symbols on it. And when you encounter these symbols, you're going to use these to figure out what the heck they are. So for example, this one here is the Romulan warbird. And so that goes there. And so then if we find the Romulan warbird, it says when revealed, and revealed means you have the tile. Place a Romulan warbird token face up. So we actually get to see what it is. Okay? His army, we don't get to see. This, you do. Okay? So it's going to have different values on it, but we'll get into that in a playthrough. Okay? All right. So what's next? Well, then you see this little planet. That's one of these. Okay? And then this is a docking. So let's look these up. I should probably... So that's called a dry dock. And it gives you things when you land there. It's basically a place you can use to repair your ship. So you don't put an actual symbol there, but if you ever move your ship there, you can actually get a benefit. Okay, and then this over here, well, let's do the planet next. This is a Class H planet. So while it's not defeated, if your ship is adjacent, you can encounter it. If you do so, draw the token, place it face up in the space. There will either be a challenge here or enemies to fight, okay? And then if you do the challenge or the enemies, it's going to depend on what the token says. You get different rewards, okay? A lot like the ruins from Mage Knight. All right, and then this last one looks like a little station. And I know we have it. Just give me a second. It's called an outpost. So there, it's like a village in Mage Knight. You can recruit crew, you can repair and heal for influence or diplomacy points, or you can subjugate it to be able to draw extra cards into your hand. Okay? There is no token for that. That's just a beneficial place to go. All right, so now let's draw the next column, which is going to be here. And then what the game's saying is there's going to be a 4th column over here. Okay? But we don't reveal that at the start of the game. And we have this situation. I hope I have the table space for all this. Okay, so that is just a sun, but this is another planet. Let me look real quick. So my advice is take the ships and put them in one pile. Take the planets, put them in another pile. So I'm going to do that right now because this is getting annoying trying to find these things. Okay, that's called a Class M planet. So it's like the monastery. The crew with the Class M planet icon can be recruited here. You could basically, it's just a place you can visit. It doesn't actually have like a battle or anything. So that's, sorry, I'm just sorting my cards here. There's so many cards, sometimes it's hard to find the one you need. And then you can see there's another dry dock. And then here is another Romulan warbird, which is going to be revealed. And then here is, what is that? Oh, those are the mines, which are going to be, it's a research station. So what that is you get data crystals when you finish your turn there. So those are good things, okay? And then based on the way the rule is explained, the fourth column would go here and plug in and then go up that way, okay? So I think as far as setup, that's all you need. And we're ready to go. We'll explain how combat works and stuff like that when we get into the video and playthrough. So as always, thanks for watching. Stay awesome and stay healthy and safe.